playing a little bit, so he played in preseason. He sees how things, and he had Vinny Testaverde, a good veteran with him. He had Drew Bledsoe to learn from. He had good background before he got in the game.
Well, you know, and also you drafted Grossman pretty high. You expect him to play. That's part of it. I think you're going to play him. It hasn't worked out right. It doesn't mean it will never work out. It doesn't mean somewhere the light won't go on and he'll get a lot better. But right now, I think you got to change. You got to find some kind of a spark for this football team. Listen, the defense has been out there more in 3 games than any team in football. They've played more plays. Now, I can say this about the defense, too. You want to get off the field? Stop somebody.
Well, I think they're going to be pulling the plug on Grossman. Next topic, Bobby Petrino, first-year coach in Atlanta. Yesterday, his star cornerback, D'Angelo Hall, implodes in the third quarter. They're winning 17-10 against Carolina, trying to get their first win. D'Angelo Hall, 3 penalties, 67 yards, and he blows up at his coach. What do you do with the guy?
I did a study when I was coaching of about 10 years of defensive penalties and found out that if you had a defensive penalty during a drive, it resulted in scoring between 75 and 80% of the time. Now, when a player like D'Angelo loses his emotions like he really did yesterday in that ball game, there comes a point in the game when he becomes not worth it. So get him out of there.
Well, there's no excuse for what he did. First of all, I think Steve Smith's a pretty smart guy. He agitated the heck out of him. But that's no excuse. What he does, he can't play for me. I take him out, I get rid of him. Now, you say, well, you can't do that. He's the #1 pick. Well, there's 2 S's. He's stupid and he's selfish because he's cheating his teammate. They had that football game won. Momentum changed tremendously because of his actions. I get rid of him.
Well, Petrino says that the discipline is going to be considerable. I'm hearing he could even suspend him for at least a game, and he could get rid of him at the end of the year. Would you do that?
Well, he's costing the organization. Yeah. I'm probably not as quick to pull the trigger as Mike. I'd sit him down. I'd do something. I'd do something very strong. I'd take it out of his pocketbook, and I'd let him know, hey, we're not putting up with this stuff.
He shut down Steve Smith yesterday, though.
Shut down. I'm not worried. Shut down. It didn't make any difference who he shut down.
He gave up 67 yards in 1 drive.
Give me a break.
He never caught a pass.
You'd cut him.
I'd get rid of him.
All right. We'll see who we get rid of next week, guys. Thanks.
All right, Mort, thank you. Leave it to you to just stir it up. From 2 guys who coach legendary defenses to guys trying to become defensive legends. Our GMC defensive nominees of the week. Eagles defensive end Trent Cole, 6 tackles, 3 sacks in Philly's big win over the Lions. Cowboys corner Anthony Henry, you saw one of his 2 picks already. 2 picks against Dallas's huge win last night in Chicago. And the Giants, Matthias Kiwanuka, 8 tackles, 2 sacks against the Skins. Tune into the Lake Sports Center to vote for Defensive Player of the Week. Now, this guy was a late-round draft pick. What a rookie sensation a year ago. From Hofstra, Marcus Colston. So far this season, he's catching the balls. The Saints, can they throw to him enough tonight to have the big lead on Tennessee? We'll see. 1 year ago this week, the Saints returned to the Dome for the first time since Katrina. It was a game that touched us all. Up next, a city still on the mend.
You are watching Monday Night Countdown, delivered by UPS.
City of New Orleans. That was the scene here at the Superdome last year, week 4, Monday night. There have been 41 Super Bowls. This building, the Superdome, has hosted 6 of them, more than any other place. But if there can be a regular season game bigger than the Super Bowl, it was that historic reopening of the Dome last season and Monday night. Hey, here's the thing about New Orleans. It is thriving. There are more restaurants now post-Katrina than there were before Katrina 2 years ago. The French Quarter is thriving. The beignets at Café Du Monde are still crazy good. I had 3 of them this morning. Still, though, this remains a city devastated. Of the more than 400,000 residents before Katrina, 180,000 still live somewhere else. New Orleans has been the murder capital of the nation the last 2 years, with the murder rate 15 times that of New York City. Safety Steve Gleason has been a resident of the Crescent City for 8 years. He was one of the heroes in that historic Monday Nighter last year. Recently, we asked him to show us his adopted city as it is today.
A moment almost unimaginable 13 months ago is here. The Saints back in New Orleans.
Just having the Saints back in that Superdome, just giving us some sense of normalcy, like they say on the commercial, that, my friend, was priceless.
After Katrina, that was our only hope that we had, was the New Orleans Saints, because that was the only joy that came to the city.
Look out! Right through! A pick block by Steve Gleason! Touchdown, New Orleans!
For people who root for the Saints, it's more than a football game, and that delivered on everything they could have hoped for.
It wasn't so much a cheer, even though it was for the Saints, but it was a cry and a shout to America that we're back.
I'm Steve Gleason of the New Orleans Saints. I was proud to represent this city 90 seconds into the game. The story of our city is one of tragedy as well as triumph. These people of New Orleans tell their stories, stories that are far from over.
We've kind of gotten beyond the point of being optimistic. There was this year to year and a half period where everybody was thinking, okay, so the cavalry's gonna come and save us. That mind shift is kind of changed.
It's just an individual determination by everybody in the city to go ahead and get back, one house at a time. The people of New Orleans have been hoping that the leaders of the city would go ahead and help us get back a lot quicker than what we have, and that hasn't happened.
Before the storm, rent would be on a two-bedroom house on average $650 a month. Now you pay that for one-bedroom efficiency.
There are problems post-Katrina, but what are the potentials now with the city of New Orleans?
As the rest of the country sees dysfunction, and there's certainly a lot of that, there are thousands of examples of people reaching across racial lines, geographic lines to really help each other.
People are building higher, they're building safer, they're building more energy efficient. Everybody wants to save power. Everybody wants to save energy. And if we improve our ecosystem, it can lessen hurricanes so where they're not as devastating.
We have to forge ahead, not dwell on the past 2 years of Katrina. Take those lessons, build on that to make ourselves better and to make our city better.
New Orleans won't ever be exactly like it was prior to the storm, but there are some ingredients that will never go away, and that's the music, that's the food, that's the hospitality. And since the storm, those who are back are making sure those things are never forgotten.
We pay more attention to all of those beautiful cultural things that we have around us. Emotionally, it does give us that big lift when the Saints are doing well. Even though they're 0-2, we know that they all want to win for us, and that means something as well.
New Orleans' story is no longer one of catastrophe, but of character. It's no longer a story of destruction, but of determination. This is not just a story about problems. This is a story about purpose.
Steve, thanks a lot. After having microfracture surgery for a knee injury in the offseason, Gleason this year is on injured reserve and will not be in the roster for tonight's game. For more, though, on the Saints, let's go now to Ed Werder for a Teams at 20 report. Ed?
Well, Stu, right or wrong, there was a perception that among some in the league that even though Sean Payton was the NFL Coach of the Year a year ago, Drew Brees, a starting quarterback for the NFC, and Reggie Bush, the 2006 Rookie of the Year on offense, that last year's Saints were an average team that got on an emotional roll. Now shaken by their 0-2 start, that's what they're seeking here, the kind of emotional jolt that they experienced in their Monday night opener last year as they played in the Superdome for the first time since Hurricane Katrina. Last year was a block punt and a special play that Coach Sean Payton called Superdome Special that launched the most successful season in franchise history. Stu, Payton told me today, we've got to let our crowd be part of this game and give this team some momentum.
Exactly what happened last year in that Monday Nighter, Ed. We appreciate it. You know, guys, in 39 years of existence, the Saints before last year had one playoff win, only 7 winning seasons. They had the reputation of the fans with the bags on their heads instead of a football town. But last year they became the football town. But was all that and the 10-6 record, Emmett, was that a fluke?
Stu, that was not a fluke. What you saw last year was truly the emotional charge of a ball club that felt like once the dome opened up, they were back at home. With the signing of Sean Payton as your head coach, Drew Brees in the free agent market, and also Reggie Bush, your first-round draft pick. These guys came in here emotionally ready to play. They were so looking forward to it. And then, not only that, but they established a run game between Deuce McAllister along with Reggie Bush to carry the team all the way into the playoffs.
So what happened?
I'm telling you, the fluke is really this year. I think it was an immature football team. At the end of the day, they made the big strides last year, and they figured, okay, this offseason, we'll get back to the next season, we'll go to the Super Bowl. We're favored in the NFC. But what happened is you got to double down on the work ethic. You saw the Colts do it. You've seen the results of the Patriots doing it. And I don't think New Orleans did it. And I think they need a cold slap in the face. That 0-2 start is that cold slap in the face. You guys aren't as good if you think you are. The rest of the league is not going to let you waltz all the way to the championship game again. And so tonight, to me, this is a team that throws the football to set up the run. To ask them to go run the football tonight is going to make them a close ball game and get them in trouble.
They're having problems right now. The Saints haven't yet to establish an identity for their ball club. Last year, Deuce McAllister led this team. The formula to success is what you had last year. Deuce running the rock, Reggie Bush coming in, sparing him during times, running the ball early, first, second, and third quarter, and then let Reggie Bush make the big play in the third and fourth quarter.
And the biggest problem they've had so far this season is they get behind. This defense needs to shore it up in the first quarter. Allow this dynamic team, whoever carries the ball, let Drew Brees throw the football, score some points, and then at the end of the day, you're going to be able to be okay to protect that defense. That defense has let them down terribly the first 2 weeks.
Throw the football. You're giving him a hard time about the running back.
You got to throw it first. This is a team that throws it to set up the run.
Not the West Coast offense.
Interesting, guys. Last year we made so much of that historic Monday nighter with the Saints. They only were 4-4 at home last year. The only division champ not to have a winning record at home. Vince Young coming out in the field here. He's ready to do some work. The reigning NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Still ahead on Monday Night Countdown. Is too much Reggie Bush a good thing for the Saints? Or should Deuce be allowed to run loose? Titans Saints coming up on Monday Night Football.
Take a look. Board Breakdown, delivered by UPS. What can Brown do for you?
Welcome back to Monday Night Countdown, everybody. This week's UPS Whiteboard Breakdown, we go back to last Monday night's game to show you why shouldn't always blame the coaches when things go wrong. Bill, we're on your side here.
Well, listen, you know, a coach's job is to put the players in position to win. So I went back a week ago. We got a couple clips here to show you the coach doing exactly that. Now, the first one's Redskins-Eagles coming up, and there's about 6 minutes to go in the game. Redskins are ahead by 7. Good matchup on the outside. Joe Gibbs dials up a bootleg. Campbell, good protection. Moss one-on-one. 10 yards open. Uh-oh, Campbell overthrows it. There's Joe Bugle. He's not happy. Under 2 minutes, Donovan McNabb, corner sitting inside. Third down play. Quick out to Kevin Curtis. It's a little high and outside fence. It's a wild pitch, Chris. Eagles lose. Last one, Ravens on the blitz against the Jets who are trying to tie it. Jets pick up the blitz perfectly. Clemens to McCarron's right in the hands, post, across the goal line. Tell you what, fellas, those 3 plays will make you stay out of coaching right there. They will keep you out.
I did a few of those.
You always had guys in the right place.
Hey, let me tell you, that's a nightmare right there.
Nice film sessions afterwards, huh?
That's right.
Those are always fun. Well, Reggie Bush, what kind of position will be he put in tonight by Coach Sean Payton? All eyes on Reggie Bush, and of course the return game, that's always intriguing to watch. 88 catches last year, rookie running back. But since 2003, the other half of the equation, you heard Emmett talk about it before, Deuce hasn't been running wild in New Orleans. Rush attempts down, 22 attempts a game in 03 to only 10 this season, which would be a huge drop-off. So, Emmett, you were talking about it before, but let's go back down to New Orleans. I want to ask you, how do the Saints best use both running backs? Elaborate on that a little bit.
The way they did it last year was perfect. You have Deuce McAllister, who is your feature back and should be your feature back. He's the guy that is going to bruise the defense for 3 quarters. Then you bring Reggie Bush in. You utilize him in a 3-wide situation. make guys cover him, but also you hide him and you bring Deuce in for 3 quarters, run him to death, and then you bring Reggie Bush in to spare him. Reggie should be carrying the ball, or touching the ball, I should say, somewhere between 5 to 10 times a game. Now back to Tom.
You know, what you have to realize is that right now, Reggie Bush has more carries than Deuce McAllister, so it's not necessarily who's getting the carries. I want to know when he's going to get those carries. Deuce McAllister needs to have the ball early, draw the safeties up, make the defense respect that interior play, which will free Reggie Bush up to do some things outside. I think when we start talking about the effects, though, of Deuce McAllister having the ball, 11 straight wins when he's carried the ball 20 times or more. That tells me that I need to let him be the engine that drives our offense.
Well, Tom, you know, I think when they drafted Reggie Bush, it would be a misnomer to kind of refer to him as a running back. Yeah, he's going to get his carries, but he's what I would call more of a satellite player. When he's detached from the main body of players and you get him out in space, that's when he's very effective. So I think the utilization of Bush, combination running a little bit, put him out in space like all good satellites. They do their best work out in space. And that's where you got to try to get him the ball.
And Sean Payton knows that. It's been going on now for a couple weeks. A lot of people are talking about it. Deuce McAllister versus Reggie Bush. The one thing that they have to do with Reggie Bush, this isn't college football, this isn't a video game. You have to utilize him in special ways, much like Coach says. Give the football to Deuce McAllister in the backfield 25 times. Reggie Bush should touch the football around 15 times. Throw him some passes, line him up in mismatches on linebackers, on safeties, put him out, flank him out wide left at the wide receiver position. Those are the things that he was able to do under Norm Child in that system at USC. And I had to throw that in there. And they'll get the most out of Reggie Bush. Lining him up purely at the running back position and trying to have him tote the rock 25 times, that's just not his strength.
Here's what I would say, and you're getting this TV thing down, Bill, satellite space, so that's pretty good. You know, and you know better than us, Sean Payton helped call the plays for you. But when things are going great, it's wonderful. But I would say for the Saints, too much French pastry. I mean, or beignets, if you want to really go down there. You know, some bread and butter offense. It's okay to have those plays, but to rely on them too. At times, I think they got too in love with these plays that they forgot about basic, and maybe that's part of their 0-2. So that would be beignets. They are good, Tom. Not much sweetness these days in St. Louis. The Rams, remember, they were 4-1 starting last year, 0-3 this year, and their star running back out. Steven Jackson will miss at least a week with a partial tear of his left groin. Jackson sustained the injury in the fourth quarter of that loss to Tampa. Brian Leonard, second-round pick out of Rutgers, is going to get the first start Sunday at Dallas. We go back to Mort from the 0-3 Rams to the 3-0 Packers. Relationship between head coach Mike McCarthy and the record holder Brett Favre. Boy, it seems to be paying off now, doesn't it?
Sure does. You know, what's interesting, too, is that Sean Payton, the coach of the Saints, was hoping to get that Packers job. It went to McCarthy. It was a widely criticized decision by Packers general manager Ted Thompson. But he wanted McCarthy because he was going to build a young team. But it's McCarthy's work with the old guy, Brett Favre, that everybody's raving about. It's almost like it's gone full cycle the way it did with Mike Holmgren. Mike Holmgren took a young Brett Favre, took a wild stallion, turned him into a thoroughbred. Favre turned back into that stallion, and all of a sudden here comes McCarthy, turns him back into a thoroughbred. Completion rate from 56 to 64%. Favre's working harder than ever, and yet they still have a young team. And oh, by the way, speaking of young, they're excited about Aaron Rodgers, the first-round pick. But we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is ever going to get on the field or if Brett will ever retire. And you talk about a young coach being a quick study. How about in Oakland, where Lane Kiffin, the week before, is stung by Mike Shanahan's last-minute timeout, which caused Sebastian Janikowski to miss a field goal that he had just made previously before that timeout. Yesterday against the Cleveland Browns, there's Lane Kiffin on the sidelines with the official calling timeout just as Phil Dawson of Cleveland's kicking a game-winning field goal. Kiffin said, yes, thank you very much, Mike Shanahan. And, oh, by the way, the competition committee, they may discuss this whole thing because it's getting a little controversial. But 2 years ago, they decided the head coach can call timeout from the sidelines. And right now, Lane Kiffin, he's mastered it just like Mike Shanahan the week before, Boom.
Well, they might switch us maybe with 10 seconds left on the play clock. They can't call a timeout anymore. Who knows? Something to discuss in March. Mort, still to come on this program. We'll read and react to the surprising storylines around the league. The Packers 3-0. LT, 1 rushing touchdown. And the last time we saw Vince and Reggie on the same field, it was a run for the roses. revisiting the dramatic 05 championship game next. Key.
Tackle!
Great job.
Yes, come on.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Boy.
What are we doing?
Let's go, baby. Let's go now. Knock it loose. Tackle!
Oh.
So why they hit it, big boy? Want to put some plastic on him? Nice going. They're not eligible.
Here's the throw. It's intercepted at the 5.
Keep it going. Liddell, it's it. We'll take that. Live it downfield.
What are we doing?
North and south. I like it. Yeah, you think it's a freaking Monday night game, this many freaking TV timeouts as Channel 2 has.
Well, with the same team, no one's been spinning sideline soundtracks longer than Jeff Fisher. Been the Titans coach back to '94 when, of course, they were the Houston Oilers. The longest tenure with one team. A year before Mike Shanahan of the Broncos, Brian Billick, Mike Holmgren, Andy Reid ran out the top 5. Congrats to Coach Fisher, who's got a contract extension through 2011 season. He has more than earned it. Now it's time to read and react with Bill Parcells and Keyshawn Johnson. All right, so a lot of the things that happened on yesterday, we'll look at a little highlight and we'll bump back to Brett Favre at Lambeau Field. I get so choked up on John Facenda, I couldn't even deliver it. Brett Favre to Bubba Franks. He still throws that quick one. The Packers lead 17-10. The Chargers get back to take the lead. But here's the slant to win the game. Zing! Just before the 2-minute warning to Greg Jennings. Yes, he's tied Dan Marino with 420 touchdown passes. But at the same time, more important, he put the Pack in front. The Pack are 3-0. They go on to win it by the count of 31-24. All right, so if you're picking quarterbacks, Brett Favre is going to be 38 in October. October 10th should be a national holiday, by the way. Who do we put ahead of Brett Favre? Anybody?
I would say
a few.
Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Donovan McNabb, and then Brett Favre. Those would be my 4 guys.
I would put him just below the very top guys, but he is still, you have to understand, this guy hasn't had much hope the last couple of years. Now, he's like one of those old hunting dogs, you know. He's got the scent now. He's really got the scent. So you're going to get the best shot he's got from here out. Yeah, I can tell. I can just see his demeanor. He's excited about his team. He thinks they got a legitimate chance. There's a long way to go, but he's on the hunt.
And he still throws
and will continue
That's
to hunt.
another one I missed in the offseason. It was Vince Young, now it's him.
Well, 7 in a row. He still throws that slant as good as anybody, doesn't
Hey, he can get it in there now.
And it's kind of fun to watch them win.
I wouldn't try some of those myself.
Kind of fun to watch them win. All right, now, in, of course, the same game, LT, Phillip Rivers. Here's that incident. Look at Rivers, actually, after you're shouting, okay, I'm going to go away, actually showed a lot of maturity to me. And later on, here's the fit. They're okay. Is this a big deal for the Chargers? You know, wanted to. What do we think?
No, I don't think so. I've been in a few of those myself with players and coaches. You've been on the sideline with me, coach. You've gotten into it with me. Bledsoe's gotten into it with me. It's not that big of a deal.
You know, I've been in 50 of them myself, and I think, you know, you get disgusted with one another once in a while, frustration of the game, but, you know, there's another play coming up right away, and as a coach, you couldn't be dwelling on this stuff. You had to get back to the business at hand, even though every once in a while you got a little distracted with players or your assistant coaches.
Look, I'm looking at you guys there. Did he make any sense, coach?
He's not make any sense. Well, he turns into a soprano when he gets excited. So his voice goes about 8 octaves higher, and I needed a translator. So I just kind of nodded my head and then told him to be quiet.
Was Coach a good listener somehow?
Very good listener.
Oh, he was?
Very good listener. He threw me a bone afterwards, a little football, you know, here you go, catch a ball.
I love that stat, 50 of those, kind of like the Bobby Cox ejection record for Major League Baseball,
hey,
right?
Listen, you get in a lot of stats. Hey, it's an emotional game.
College football, Travis Thomas, it took to the 4th game of the season for Notre Dame to get an offensive touchdown. They led Michigan State 7-0, but this didn't go on forever, as everyone knows. Second and goal, Michigan State, Brian Hoyer to Kellen Davis. Michigan State goes on to roll the Irish. Charlie Weiss's Irish 0-4, losing 31-14. What has happened at Notre Dame for this to happen so fast?
Well, I think, you know, Coach, the one thing that I've always watched when I watch recruiting, Notre Dame under Tyrone Willingham went out to California or Texas or wherever the recruits were. They got fast guys. They got guys that can play. Now, all of a sudden, those guys are gone. These are all Charlie Weiss guys. The Brady Quinns, all those guys, those were Tyrone Willingham guys. Now all of a sudden Charlie Weiss is starting to play with his guys, slow guys. Those are slow players. And when teams like Southern Cal, Michigan State, those type of teams come up, you're in a lot of trouble.
I agree with you. I don't think there's a lot of team speed there, Key, but I think there's a dynamic in play that, that happened a few years ago. There were teams that were independents that were very successful around the country. They included Notre Dame, Penn State, Pitt, West Virginia, Boston College. All of them were independents. Most of them have joined conferences now. And that conference affiliation somehow attracts the recruits, particularly if they're in the locale of the conference. Their parents are going to get to see them play a lot of games in close proximity. So that Notre Dame, it's a national school. It's unique. It's had a tremendous history.
Oh, it's not unique.
It's unique.
Yeah.
It's unique.
It's not that unique.
But I think that the conference affiliation would be something that might help it.
And I don't feel sorry for him because I am a Trojan, so I don't feel sorry for him.
We know what you are.
I hope they lose the rest of the games, the rest of the season.
We can tell when you wear that #1 Trojan jacket to the production meetings. We know what that is.
That's a great series. Hard to the USC Notre Dame. That's pretty good.
Well, I don't know how good it's been for Notre Dame lately.
Well, I just mean the history of it.
Listen
right?
to him. Huh?
We've
it
read.
gets obnoxious after a while. You can't.
That's the way it is.
Huh? I didn't hear him talking too much after that UCLA game.
You know what could be coming up right here? The 51st sideline confrontation.
No, we're good.
Keith Bullock on the field for the Tennessee Titans. He's a heck of a linebacker. Will they bring the D tonight against the New Orleans Saints? Now, group of guys who am every Monday night as a Mardi Gras. Our game crew led by Mike Tirico. Mike?
Hi, Chris. Thanks. Good evening. Guys, we're just talking college football. Down here, it's all LSU, the #2 team in the nation, and they have a special relationship with the city of New Orleans and the state, but so too do the Saints. Archie Manning was on the radio with us today, and he was telling me just even back when they were bad and they put the bags on their heads, the fans still had a special connection with this team. We saw it with our eyes a year ago with the reopening of the Dome. And Tony, even at 0-2, that connection is still there.
Yeah, the eyes of the country may not be on the Saints tonight, but the eyes of New Orleans are on the Saints. Sean Payton told us the other day that of all the places he has ever been, the strongest bond between a team and a city is right here in New Orleans. Scott Vegeta said that last year what the Saints were all about was trying to bring a little bit of rebirth and recovery to the city as well. And he said though the progress in rebuilding the city has slowed, he hoped the Saints could be a part of it again this year. Now that's easier at 1-2 than at 0-3. And just to empty the notebook of quotes right now,
why not?
Deuce McAllister said, everybody loves you when you're getting W's, and that's what they have to attend to.
We got to kick off shortly. You got anything left?
No, other than the fact that I spilled your coffee on me and my water on me in the last 10 seconds.
It's been a very enjoyable 15 minutes up here. Yeah, and Drew Brees told us to keep the theme going.
Yeah.
He said it amazed him that they lose the game to Tampa. They fly back to New Orleans, and there were some fans waiting for them at the airport at 0-2, like they were at the NFC Championship game last year. But let's take it on the field with Brees. Why is he and the offense not where they were a year ago?
You know, I think first and foremost, when you look at Drew Brees, he's the maestro of this offense. He likes to distribute the football to all the receivers and the running backs in the passing game. Conventional wisdom's going to say, oh, you got to run the football with Deuce McAllister. That would be a mistake tonight. That is the strength of the Tennessee Titans defense. I think what you'll see from Drew Brees tonight, spread the field sideline to sideline. No one gets the ball out of their hand quicker on that 3- and 5-step drop than Drew Brees. He processes information quickly of getting the ball to the uncovered receiver. I think early and often you'll see the passing game, not the running game tonight early.
Well, I know we're going to see intensity from New Orleans. If you don't believe us, here's the scene a couple of minutes ago as Reggie Bush was leading the Saints ball handlers out onto the field. Listen.
As Reggie Bush tonight, this was Reggie Bush, BCS title game 2006. Reggie and USC, Vincent, Texas, second quarter. Trojans up 7-0. Matt Leinart to Bush, got some room, great comeback. He got criticized a lot for this play, but it was a hustle play. Trying to ladder it to Brad Walker. It's fumble, Texas recovers. Reggie can't believe it. Third quarter, Longhorns down 17-16 in the red zone. Vince Young will keep the rock. I'm gonna make it do what it do, baby. One of 3 rushing touchdowns by Vince. Texas up 23-17, fourth quarter, 2:13 left. Trojans up 5, trying to put it away, 4th and 2. Reggie Bush on the sideline. Lindale White, who is now Vince Young's teammate right here tonight with the Titans, didn't get it done. Texas gets the ball back. Vince, 4th and 5 at the 9, 26 seconds left. Holler! And Texas upsets the Trojans, wins the national championship. So coming off of that Bananas game, the question was, all right, first pick of the draft, who you got, Vince or Reggie? Hold up, y'all. In the draft, the Texans took North Carolina State DN Mario Williams. Saints had Reggie fall into their lap at 2. Vince Young went 3. Jets took DeBrickashaw Ferguson at 4. And linebacker A.J. Hawk, who's doing work right now with the Packers at 5. The only Pro Bowler of the group, Vince Young. All right, guys, it's kind of like cheating, but play NFL GM with hindsight now. Do you take Reggie Bush, and I scored 42 touchdowns at USC, or do you take Vince Young, who had 267 passing and 200 rushing in that national title game?
It's really easy in hindsight. It's not that hard in foresight either, because in football in the NFL, it's all about the quarterback. Fantasy football is about the running back. That's no disrespect to Reggie Bush. But Vince Young has proven to me, I said it earlier, that he is better than all the things that I expected. He's a more accurate football player. He's more of a leader than I thought. I think that there's no question that he touches the ball every play. You would take Vince Young even higher maybe than he did a year ago in the draft.
You know, the way I see it, my friend, if you want to sell tickets, you get Reggie Bush. If you want to sell tickets and win games, you get Vince Young. Vince Young touches the ball every play, and he does everything that a coach wants him to do for your franchise.
Tell you what, Emmett and Steve are just pretend NFL decision makers. No offense, guys. We do have a real one.
1998, I was.
That's right. Excuse me, Mr. Once Upon a Time.
Tim McDonald and I were the GM.
There's a lot of fake GMs out there.
Still, ooh, little zinger. We do have an NFL decision maker. The only man to ever lead 4 different teams to the postseason. Our own man back in Bristol, Bill Parcells. Coach, you were working the Cowboys draft room in that draft. Who did you have as the #1 player evaluated on your board?
Well, we weren't in position to draft any of these guys. They're all good players, but we did have Mario Williams on top of the board. There's just so many big players with this rare size and speed like he had. 6'6", 295 pounds, ran a 4.7. I know I hadn't seen anything like that at the combines that even compared with it. So there's just so many big guys on the planet, as the late George Young used to say. And when you get an opportunity to get one like this, you figure you're getting a defensive end that's going to be there pressing the quarterback for 10 years. And I think the fans just got to wait just a little bit longer, because this guy's on his way. I see him as a better player than he was last year right now, and I think that there's a lot of good in front of this guy.
Coach Parcells can still coach every position on the football field, including the position of quarterback. Vince Young came on strong last year, almost beat Peyton Manning in week 1 this year, about to do some work. Coming up, we've already talked about the problems on the Saints offense, but is their defense a bigger concern? Is this still a Super Bowl caliber team? And the Superdome filling up as we count down the kickoff. We are taking you from the locker room to the field. You have to see this. What do you need to know before you watch the game tonight? It is our Field Pass, and it is coming up next.
Back to Monday Night Countdown, delivered by UPS.
As we get ready for tonight's game, I want to take a look back at yesterday and a few things that I can't take. Loss of fundamentals. We've got Glenn Holt taking a kickoff, last minute of the game. Carson Palmer waiting for an opportunity on the sideline for a last-minute drive. It never happens. Ball, fumble, game, set, match. Josh McCown, all we need to do is hand the football off to Lamont Jordan, stick it into his stomach, but it doesn't happen. Ball recovered by the Cleveland Browns. Opportunity lost. Patrick Creighton in the end zone. Ball hits him right between the numbers. You're a professional receiver. You got to make that catch. And Michael Keenan get the ball down. So Morton Anderson, he tried to kick it anyway, but the opportunity was lost with the snap. Loss of fundamentals, especially early in the season. Let's hope we don't see it tonight when the Titans meet the Saints.
All right, will Tom be able to take another week of watching the Saints defense? Will Smith, well, he's hoping to make his own new movie. And rush the passer and see what he can do against Vince Young and the Tennessee Titans. Saints defense has been the big easy when it comes to giving up big passing plays. Against the Colts, Peyton Manning completed passes of 27, 39, 42, 28, 31, 45, 16 yards of completion. Against Tampa, Jeff Garcia completed passes of 33, 69, 41, 24, and 41 yards, over 24 yards of completion. Their pass defense could use a lift. They're marching in last in opponents' yards per attempt at 11.5. They haven't recorded a sack. It's hard to be less than that in 2 games. Last in opponent quarterback passer rating, no interceptions. Those would be called negative stats. Last year, the New Orleans Saints coached to, quote, one of your favorites, Antoine Fats Domino. They found their thrill on Blueberry Hill, okay? So this year, can they get that thrill again? Can they be a contender again despite the 0-2 start?
Well, I think when you have defensive deficiencies like they've exhibited so far, it compromises the whole way you kind of approach the game, because you're always thinking that you have to score, you have to get points, you have to do this, you have to do that. And it's not simply a matter of, well, we're going to get Deuce McAllister established. We might not have time to do that. They've been playing from behind. You know, it's a nice, logical, reasonable way to approach things, because that's what they did last year, and it was successful. But that's not the way this year has started. And it compromises the whole way you look at the game and how you play it and how you coach it, because you're looking to get a spark. You're looking to get something that ignites your team. And if you don't get it, you start 0-2.
You know, I think what helps this team is that they have a lot of veteran leadership. They've got some guys who know what it's like, especially the quarterback, Drew Brees. But a lot of times I think that the best defense is a good offense, and I think that you still have to establish that run game. If you're running the ball and you're running it well 23, 25 times with Deuce, then, in effect, the other team doesn't have the football to make those huge plays, because I don't know if personnel-wise you got a chance to make a change now and be a better defensive football team.
Even the thought of even trying to get to the Super Bowl. Let's just try to get our first win. Let's just get our first win. Yeah. Once we get our first win, then we'll think about winning the division. Then we'll think about the playoffs. Then, if we do well in the playoffs, we'll think about the Super Bowl. January of 2007 is over with. You're still reading newspaper clippings. It's time to turn the page. It's time to play football. It's time to do the things that you know you can do, that you're capable of doing, playing hard-nosed football. No more video game plays, no more trick plays, none of that. Establish the running game and then decide to throw the football and play sound defense.
You know what they need? And they'll never have a crowd like they did that one night that we were there, but still. Stu pointed out they're 4-4. They need a 7-1 or 8-0 home slate. Remember, they've opened 2 games on the road. Make that your classic home field advantage, and then all of a sudden you could pick up a lot of ground in a division in which it doesn't look like anybody's going to certainly run and hide, or else, Bill, they'll be walking. Yes, indeed. They'll be talking, right?
Like you and me.
Like you and me. Now let's go back to the Big Easy. We could sing Fats Domino forever. Ed Werder with his Teams at 20 report on the Saints. Good evening, Ed.
Boomer, Reggie Bush has caught passes, taken handoffs, and returned punts, but never in the NFL has he returned to kickoff. Titans coach Jeff Fisher has warned his players to be prepared for the possibility tonight. Bush told me he lobbied Sean Payton to let him do it. He's practiced it, but he doesn't expect it. If he does, it'll be the first time in his career that he's done so. Talked to quarterback Drew Brees, asked him if doubt had become part of the equation for the Saints at 0-2. He repeated the question and said, is there any doubt in our minds? I've got 2 words for you. Hell no. Let's go across the field for one last word from Rachel Nichols on the Titans.
Well, Ed, Jeff Fisher might have told his team to beware of Reggie Bush on the punt return, but he's telling them that during the game, beware of Deuce McAllister. I just saw Fisher, and he told me he expects McAllister to get 15 to 18 carries by halftime. And he said, hey, that's fine with me, because at least when he's doing that, Reggie Bush is off the field. Now, as for the Titans' own running back, if you want to know how big the game this is for Lendale White, he was just walking across the field and he showed me his cell phone. He said, this is a good luck message from Snoop Dogg. I asked Jeff Fisher, where's your good luck message? And he said, who's Snoop Dogg? Stu?
Walking across the field, Ed and Rachel giving us all the reports, laid back. I got my mind on field pass and my money and what's up right now for the key players. Steve Young, Drew Brees led the league in passing last year. How does he get on track here tonight?
Look, Stu, he's one of my top 5 quarterbacks in this league. He's an established starter. I expect much more from him. He has been protected well the first couple weeks. They've gotten behind and gotten away from their game plan. Tonight, it is his responsibility to lead this football team. He's the quarterback. Quarterbacks are paid the big money to do it. On Monday night, I expect Drew Brees to be the star of the show tonight.
Well, opposite him would be Vince Young, and we've just scratched the surface, Tom, of what Vince Young can do, except we're pretty sure that he can put up a few W's.
Well, Boom, he's a defender's nightmare. He's got great physical tools. He's got the ability not only to throw the ball, but he's great outside the pocket. I think for that reason, they actually put in that belly play. They saw it work at Texas. It might work as well in the NFL. And this guy also plays his best football in big games. First time on Monday Night Football, I'd look for a huge game from Vince Young.
Emmitt Smith, we know you don't think Reggie Bush should carry the rock 15 times a game, but how can he be most effective when he does touch it?
Well, the way he could be most effective, obviously, is for Sean Payton to put him in a position to make plays and disguise some of the run plays, so Deuce McAllister can start things off right on the ground and then work Reggie Bush in on the offensive plays. Reggie Bush is a significant threat to any defense in the National Football League. Therefore, if he's in on 3 wide situations, or if you got to play an out wide, he can do a very effective job of drawing attention.
And the other half of the duo, Deuce McAllister. Coach, he's a crasher, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's a thumping running back, and these guys, a lot of these thumpers need to kind of get warm before they get effective. You know, you get it to them early in the game, you get them started, you give them 4 or 5 carries, get them on the safety once or twice. Sometimes those safeties start to retreat a little bit. He can break off a 10 or 12 yarder. That gets everybody excited. And don't forget Deuce in the passing game. You know, when he was at Ole Miss, they used to split him out wide, just like they do Reggie Bush. He's a good player.
Well, he comes from not far away at Ole Miss, but Hofstra is a long way away to the Superdome, but Marcus Colston certainly, and you love those Hofstra receivers, Sean.
No, I actually do. I love this one especially. I think the thing that he has to do is get out of his sophomore slump and not think about last year and come out and make some big plays. The secondary for the Tennessee Titans right now is not that great without Pac-Man in there, and he can take advantage of that with his size. If you look, he had over 1,000 yards as a rookie last year. You know, he was a guy who was drafted late from Hofstra University, so I look for him to do some really aggressive things to the secondary tonight.
There's a unit we haven't talked about tonight, which I think is coming, and that would be the Tennessee defense. A guy that remembered when they were still a good, you know, a playoff team would be Keith Bullock, Tom, linebacker.
Well, you can see there, he's been around for a while. He's got great range. He's about 6'3", 240, 45 pounds. He's a tremendous hitter, but he also works well in space and got that sideline-to-sideline attitude that you look for. So he's everything you want in a linebacker and a great leader for this defense that's got some young stars on it.
Well, we're counting you down to kickoff at the bottom of the hour. We picking the Titans, we picking the Saints. Our crew in New Orleans, our crew here in Bristol, Connecticut, all weigh in. Monday Night Football's around the bend.
UPS. What can Brown do for you? And in part by McDonald's.
I like the Washington Redskins. I think that Coach Gibbs has finally put a team in place that's his team, that he likes. Gonna be hard to beat. Washington Redskins.
Tom was the lone voice of, you're all on the Eagles, huh? Tom was the only one that got it right last week, so he's 2-0. Stu and I are 1-1. Everyone else, we don't use the names because they're in the witness protection program. They're 0-2, all right? So nighttime in the city of New Orleans, changing cars in Memphis, Tennessee. We got both teams in there, thanks to Arlo Guthrie. All right, so who wins? Time to pick. Mr. 2-0.
I'm going to take the #1 running team in football, the Tennessee Titans, and sense that Vince Young is going to have an outstanding night.
Well, a bespectacled weasel in the control room has specifically instructed me to pick the Saints, so I'm going with the Weasel.
And I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. And Vince, you better not let me down, because you beat my Trojans.
Ooh, always.
Well, I think it's a close game either way. We're not there this time, and we felt it last year. I'm going Tennessee 23-21. Tennessee's defense is on the rise, and I'll tell you who's playing good ball is Albert Hainsworth up front. So watch for him tonight. The Saints will have to watch for him. Emmett, who do you like tonight?
Boom, I like the Tennessee Titans. Defense win championships. And tonight, their defense will step up big.
I got to go with the Saints. I know that everybody thinks it's not happened this year. I think the fluke is that they're 0-2. The cold slap in the face was the 0-2 start. I think they play great football tonight and win the game. And Keyshawn, give up at USC. College is over with, buddy.
Titans are the only team in the league averaging 200 yards rushing a game. Saints have a lot of questions, so I'm going with the Saints. Why? Because at some time you have to look at your teammates and demand a win of each other. Boom.
All right, guys, a pleasure to be with you. Now, look, it's Election Day is coming up. The red are the Saints. The blue are Tennessee. We have 5 states undecided, which means we're going to be up to 3, 4, 5 in the morning for those late electoral votes from Hawaii before we can call a winner in this thing. Undecided. I mean, the game is like in a couple minutes. It's time to make the pick. We're out of here tonight. We'll use the real names. Keyshawn Johnson, Bill Parcells, Tom Jackson, Chris Mortensen, Stuart Scott, Emmett Smith, Steve Young, and our cast of thousands at the Superdome, etc. Hope you've enjoyed Monday Night Countdown. We will see you at halftime, everybody. Now, the world of football focuses on the Superdome home opener for the New Orleans Saints, or we remember the Titans.